Hello CC friends, and welcome to Art with Allie. Today we're going to be looking at our basic drawing shapes, which are our oils. 5 basic shapes. With this we can draw anything. So this is just a great place to start at the beginning of the school year, just to warm our hands and brains up in the art world. Before we get started, let's get our materials together, and then also let's just get our bodies ready. So for the materials today, use what you have. I'm gonna be using some printer paper. I'm gonna be using cardstock. You could use marker, crayon, oil pastel, watercolor, colored pencil. So just because I use one medium doesn't mean that's what you have to use. So just use what you have on hand. We're just experimenting. You could repeat this project again and try it with a different medium. And the medium is just what we're using, meaning our utensils, whether that's marker or crayon. Those are 2 different mediums. So use what you have and what you enjoy. Before we get started, get all of your supplies together. So you can get those on the table. Here's my paper, whether you're gonna be using a Sharpie or you could just be using a black pen, something, a good writing utensil, kind of like Mr. Poudoir says in Essentials, the IEW aspect, to use a pen when you're writing instead of a pencil, because we have a tendency to want to flip it over. Same principle here when we're drawing. Just use a pen or a marker and just go with it. And if you think you make a mistake, see if you can turn it into something else. Okay, so I've got my materials. Before I do that, I was reading this in Drawing with Children, which is a book that's recommended by CC by Mona Brooks. And it was just talking about getting our bodies ready. Sometimes we can rush from subject to subject, from task to task. And so before we start our art project, let's just take a minute. Let's just get our bodies relaxed. I'm just gonna close my eyes and we're just gonna take a few deep breaths and just breathe out any frustration maybe we have with a sibling or with a subject, or maybe it was just a rushed morning, and we're just gonna breathe that out and let that go. And we're gonna breathe in God's goodness for us, and that He has made us creative beings, that God created in the beginning, like we see in Genesis, and we were made in His image, and we can also create. And that's what we get to do right now. So just take a minute. You could pause the video and just relax and get yourself ready before we begin. Okay, here we go. For our printer paper, we're going to use this as a warm-up. So let's fold it over. I'm gonna line my corners up. I'm gonna hold it there and slide it over. If yours is a little bit crooked, that's okay. This is just for warm-up. I'm gonna fold it 2 more times. I'm gonna take it and fold it up. And then 1 more. Like so. Then I'm going to unfold it. And now I've just created 8 rectangles here, and we're going to practice our oils. So the oils are the basic drawing shapes. So we have, you know what? I have brown paper here to protect my surface, but if you're using Sharpie, please remember to put either another sheet of paper underneath there or something to protect the surface, okay? All right, now let's get going. So first we have is a circle. A circle is just a curved line connected that is open in the middle. Then we have a straight line with a dot. So the difference between these 2 is that this one is filled in. So this one has open space in between it, and this one does not. Circle, dot, straight line. Then we have angled lines, and that's where we have a straight line and another straight line joined together. And then we have our curved lines, like so. So this spells out oils, and this is just a helpful way for us to remember what our oils are. So let's practice in this rectangle here doing our circles. So sometimes they can be picture perfect circles. Maybe they're more of like an ellipse or an oval or a kidney bean shape like that. So It is a closed shape that is not filled in, okay? You could keep filling it all up, but this is just to kind of warm our hands up and practice. Then let's do our straight lines. That's all it is, it's a straight line. But we could take those straight lines and then we could use them to make patterns by putting them close together. We could do small ones. You could also do some thick lines, depending on, you could use something that has a smaller point or something that has a thicker point. And then you can also do them at different angles. So we'll do our dot. And so here is my rectangle down here. And we're just going to do a circle, but then we fill it in, okay? And again, it's the same shapes up here, but they're filled in to show that they have mass. And you can also do repeating patterns like this to create interest. Have angled lines. So we can do an L like we have over here. A number 7 is an angled line. The letter W has angles, or you can just use them and build patterns as well with these. And if it's hard for you to make a nice sharp angled line, you can always draw a line if you need to pick up your writing utensil and then come back. Different angle. All right. And then lastly is our curved lines. So the letter S is nice and curvy. Then you can make it into a swirl. The letter U is nice and curvy. It kind of makes like a rainbow. And we can put them in all different kinds of patterns. We can put lots of them right beside each other to make a nice little border. All right, so that's just kind of warming up. There's also a lot of simple animals that you can draw using these shapes. We could practice them here. And then I'm gonna add some detail. So you may not have time and community to do all of this and then do a final project. So maybe you just do this and you do your animal on a bigger sheet of paper. So I'm gonna do a curved line and a straight line, which also makes the letter D there, right? Okay. If you'd like, you can color it in. This is just practicing. Okay, then I can do another small curve here on the right side. I can color that in. Does anyone see what I'm drawing yet? Then I can do a little curved line over here and little straight lines here. And so using these basic shapes, you can draw animals. So we can give Mr. Turtle an eye here, and then we can also do 1, 2 lines, and then we can also give him some of this little shell segments there. You could do colored pencil, you can do crayon. There's no wrong thing to use. Let me grab some crayons and we'll do one down here. So let's draw a little bird. We're gonna take this same shape that we started with the turtle, but we're going to flip it. So let's do a straight line with a curve connecting, and then you can color that in. Let's do a circle on the top, and we're going to fill it in to make it a dot, and then we're going to do a triangle here on the end, and then I'm going to fill that in. And oh, let's not forget his beak. Just a little straight line there. And then you can use your marker or pen and add in some of the detail. You can give them some feathers. Like so. There's some great animal ideas on edemberly.com, and he also has some great drawing books that I love to use. Let me show you some other things from years past. A tulip. You see those angled lines, the W with a curve. A Ferris wheel. You start with a circle, you segment it, you put little circles along the side for the little carriages, and then you ground it with like where the motor would be. You can do little mice. All of these examples that I pulled these from did come from Ed Emberly's books. I took that basic bird and I'm going to draw just part of a tree over here, and I'm giving him a little branch to stand on. I'm just giving the impression that they're leaves here. I'm not going to draw each individual leaf because I want my focus to be on the bird. And I could put different swirlies in here of different colors to show my leaves. And then we need to give this bird some feet. I'm gonna let him grip the branch right there. And so we're taking those basic oil shapes and then we can put them into a scene. And don't forget to sign your artwork. And I would encourage you either to put your age or put what year it was that you drew it so that you can remember. All right, so that's one way that you can use the oils. And I would just recommend a half sheet because it'll be easier to fill that in. Another option is going to be taking those oils and doing a little bit more of an abstract. So if you've done the animals in the past and you want to change that up, then grab a half a sheet. This is a half a sheet of cardstock. Again, we can use whatever we have on hand. All of these started with a Sharpie for the black base, and then I put in the different oils. This has got watercolor and crayon. This is just marker and then a little bit of pen for the detail, and this is with just some colored markers. So use what you have, and let's get going with this. As you can see, they're all gonna look a little bit different, so yours does not need to look like mine, okay? Make it your own artwork. So here we have our half sheet. Protect that table. Underneath, grab your Sharpie or permanent marker or pen, whatever you might be using, and if you just have a black crayon, that will work too. So the first thing that we did with our oils was that we did the open circle. And so if you want to make yours look just like a circle, you can do that, or you can put some shape to it. You can do that as well, okay? So somewhere kind of in the middle. You can look at this one. They're going to all be a little bit different, okay? Then we're going to do 4 lines off of this. So they're going to touch this shape and they're going to go all the way off the page. So we're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, okay? So now I have 5 different areas to practice my oils in. If you would like, you could choose whichever one you want to start with to do like your open circles, your closed circles, like that, okay? So I'll change it up from what I did right here. This one I did the open circles and I put the dots over here. What if we put the dots here in the middle? Kind of reminds me, I just left it as black and white. It reminds me of like a Dalmatian. If you're using a pen, it could take you a while because it's going to be a smaller tip. So that's one good reason to use a half a sheet. And even with a Sharpie, sometimes it might take a little bit. So don't feel like you have to fill in every space. All right, and then you can choose a different quadrant and add in your next oils. And you just keep working all around and doing that, doing all the black and whites first, and then we'll go back and add the color. If you can integrate these two projects as well. Maybe you want to draw an animal hiding in one of these, kind of like one of the I Spy books. So you're the artist and you have the freedom to be able to create this how you would like to. All right, so I'm gonna get going on filling in these other 4 quadrants with my oils. Open circles, straight lines, dots, angled lines, and curved lines. Okay, so here's my drawing, and now I can fill it in with all the colors. The constraints that I put on myself were that I just focused on like one color in each one. Otherwise, it's gonna get a little, I think, busy for our eyes. So I did anything that was a shade of green, anything that was like a shade of red, blue, yellow, and I left that black and white. And here's where, if you want to incorporate like the little animal, I have him hiding right there. So you could hide a little animal in there if you want to. And when you're coloring, use different pressure with your hand. You can press it down harder, and then you can do lighter, and I'm just doing little strokes, and I'm gonna keep in the same direction if I start. So I'm just gonna do small little strokes. But you can create really like different colors, because this color and this color is the same thing, just with different pressures on my hand. And then you can always rotate your paper. When it's time for me to color another one, there's no sense in me having to reach across. I can just rotate it around and start my new color. Have fun creating beauty and using whatever materials you have and expressing your creativity through art. Thanks for joining Art with Allie.